Coro. I love Coro. I have to tell you that when I first arrived here from Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico, yeah, come on, all right, a shout out for those from Jalisco. I have to tell you that it wasn't easy when we first arrived, and I know that everybody knows somebody that has my story. You know, got here, didn't speak a word of English, didn't know what it was. I didn't understand why one night everybody started knocking on our door and asking us for treats, and I found out that was Halloween and that was allowed here. I just thought, what a great country. Go knocking on doors and you get candy. This is wonderful. But as I worked through that, I learned to love this country, and I learned to love and respect the idea of a true democracy, and that somebody like me could really have opportunity. And I remember when John F. Kennedy said, we don't all have equal talent, but in America, we should all be given an equal opportunity to develop our talent. And so I appreciate that in this place, when my mother and my 5 brothers and sisters, when we left Guadalajara, and I said to my grandmother, I don't know why we're leaving. I love the streets. I love the smell of the hot cakes, you know, the hot cakes after church. And I was going to be this wonderful Asian Japanese girl play. And she said, you're going to America. You're going to Los Angeles because someday you're going to be able to be a secretary. Well, the good Lord was listening to her and allowed me to be your Secretary of Transportation and Housing and Real Estate. But why I love Coro is that wherever I was, whether it was moving into my very first job, counting Americans as part of the census, there were Coro people there helping me. Whether I went into Westinghouse to serve on the Federal Glass Ceiling Commission, to have impact in taking down those artificial barriers in corporate America. Coro people were there working with me, alongside me. And when I went into Sacramento to say, how can we have impact here, to pass a housing bond, and we were able to pass a $2.1 billion housing bond, to create California's first Department of Managed Health Care, to create an infrastructure plan so that we could actually have building blocks and metrics and indicators of success and of a sound economy, and talk about quality of life indices. It was Coro people who were there working alongside me, and so I owe you so much. And I wanted to keep the honor and the dignity that my grandmother had always reminded me to keep. And so she said, it's not the positions that you have, Maria, it's what you do with the positions that you have. And so I thought about all the wonderful people who would help me along the way, and I wanted to do something similar. So where did I go? I went to Coro. And I said, I want to have a place where other Latinas who feel disengaged because they have double barriers, sometimes just to convince their fathers, their brothers, their husbands in some instances, that they're able to do more. And then when we get out into the corporate community, that we have to prove it again. How can I create a leadership development program that will help bring other sisters along? Coro helped me create that program. So I started with 12 girlfriends that I took to Sacramento, and I said, we can change things. We can pass legislation. And so these Latinas went with me. The next year we went with 200. The next year we went with 400. The next year we went with 800. And today, what is it now? 12 years later, we have thousands of Latinas going to Sacramento for Latina Action Day. And I'm proud to say that Coro helped to develop that program for us. And now we have women who are in state office, in federal office, in positions all over the country who came through that Hope Leadership Development Program that Coro helped me to create. So thank you again to Coro for helping me. As you heard, I have now left public office and I'm a banker, and I have to tell you it wasn't easy. When I went to the regulators to say I want to start a bank, a Latino bank, they said, there's Asian banks, there's African American banks, why don't we have a Latino bank? And so I said, well, that's the point, isn't it? We need one. And so we told the story about how wonderful it was that Don Giannini started Bank of America, and first he named it Bank of Italy up in San Francisco, and how he was able to transform San Francisco, allowing people to have ownership in businesses. And so we said, we must do that if we're going to push Los Angeles along, and the entire country forward, Latinos have got to be fully engaged and have access to capital. And so I went to my 25 girlfriends and said, it takes about $500,000 to put an application together. There's 25 of us, we can all do math. And so I passed around an envelope and I said, some of you have nicer purses than others, I can tell, and so I know you have liquidity. And I have to tell you, when I got the envelope back, we had $1.2 million in that envelope. We applied for our application, and then about a year later, I came back to my girlfriends. I didn't take off to Paris and spend it. I completed this application, it was about this tall, and I came back to my girlfriends and I said, the good news is our application was accepted. The bad news is we now have to raise $25 million just to start the bank. These ladies went out, my girlfriends went out, and my friends, and again, some of them were Coro friends, went out, and we were given 6 months by the SEC to raise the 25, and in 3 months we raised $42 million. And so today we thought about long and hard about what to name this institution, and we called it Primerica Bank, because we think that the contraction of the promise of America, I'll never forget that this is the only place that I know of that can harvest opportunity with such generous bounty. And I'll always be grateful to this country. It is my country now, and I love it. And I hope that I reflect still well on my homeland, on other Mexican people. But today I'm here to thank you for being such a great part of that and for helping me to build Primerica Bank, and hopefully to be able to continue to spur the economy forward, to create change and to create more leaders that will be able to create more jobs, and that will be able to initiate, participate, and communicate sound public policy in a time when our country is so desperate for it. Thank you. Godspeed to all of you.